Breton Biomedical, Boston, USA. It didn't take very long to dismember a human body, especially if you knew which parts were valuable and should be extracted carefully, and which could be disassembled more quickly. Dr. Kelly Montague Breton made her first incision as the clock ticked past 2 a.m. Her slender hands were deft and confident in white medical gloves that covered her pale, freckled skin, and her abundance of strawberry blonde curls lay tucked up inside a medical cap. Her face was freshly cleaned of the precise makeup she wore during the day as armor against the corporate world in the towering offices above. Down here in the levels below ground, Kelly could strip back to essentials. The dead didn't judge, and there was no one to witness her at this time of night. She wore blue scrubs that hung loose over her slender frame. Naturally petite, Kelly knew she was too thin at the moment, a result of anxiety that gnawed at her gut and kept her from sleep most nights. Nightmares punctuated the few fitful hours she managed, and the sense of dread continued to haunt her days. Kelly rarely processed corpses herself these days. As CEO of Breton Biomedical, she had an entire team of disarticulators to do the grunt work. But disassembly took her mind off everything else. She could focus on each cut of the blade, each rasp of the saw. Full tissue recovery was labor-intensive, but she would start the process and her team could finish the job later. No part of the precious human body would be left unused. It was an anatomy jigsaw puzzle in reverse as she removed each separate part, complicated enough to keep her attention on the task and not on the email that had come through yesterday afternoon. The disassembly room was a hybrid space, somewhere between a morgue and an operating theater, with clinical white tiles and stainless steel equipment. Metal trolleys on rolling wheels flanked each side of the room with vats of preserving liquid and sterile storage boxes ready for the parts that would be dispersed after processing. It smelled of strong disinfectant, and air conditioning kept the room at a few degrees below a comfortable working temperature. There was no need for beeping equipment monitoring signs of life. The cadaver on the metal gurney had no need of them. The man's pectoral muscles were firm under Kelly's gloved hands as she cut into his flesh, an intimacy that no living lover could have experienced. He had a scar on his chest, a sunburst of tissue, but the story behind it was now only a memory for those he left behind. As she sliced, Kelly focused on the rhythm of her breath, the quiet tick of the clock, the puff of airflow through the room. For these few mindful hours, she could forget everything else. Her father had taught her the methods of disassembly during Kelly's teenage years. A strange bond, perhaps, but one she appreciated. Both of them preferred the quiet of disarticulation to the boardroom meetings and etiquette of business that kept the wheels turning and the money pouring in. As an only child, Kelly inherited the company on her father's death, as well as its secrets. But she was intent on being the last Breton to shoulder this burden of generations. Neither of her two sons were interested in joining the firm, and she intended that they live out the lives they chose. But there was much to be done to keep the curse of knowledge from them, and Kelly could only hope she would have the strength to complete what must be done before it was too late. She looked down at the body before her, a particularly valuable corpse. A Caucasian man in his early 40s, naked on the slab, with a square of gauze over his face to preserve some sense of dignity. Not that there could ever be much dignity in death, when a human was reduced to a pile of meat, with nothing of the real person left behind. This man had the body of someone who worked out regularly and looked after his diet. Shame about the massive heart attack that killed him, possibly from some genetic defect that no amount of lifestyle change could avoid. But the rest of him would help many others, and the bottom line of her company.